that we sent you. All right, our pal, Brendan Saunders, running for state senate, is joining me today. And Brendan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very good, Lee. Thank you for having me.
All right, so we got a lot to get to. We'll try to get to as much as we can here in the next 15 or so minutes. But I know you're running against Senator Needleman, and it's a hotly contested race. And I guess there's been a little bit, you consider some mudslinging, some negative advertising or negative campaigning going on from his campaign. In particular, you say he's going after. Now, I don't know what faith you are. Are you a Wiccan? No, he's going after your faith. What kind of a?
Yes, Lee. I'm the devil.
What's going on with all that?
We knew that he would go negative at some point, but we did not think that he would actually have the gall to attack my faith and the faith of all those who are in the 33rd district by portraying me as some sort of radical right-wing Christian. He sent out mailers, and I love the psychology of this. The bottom of the mailer, it says, check the facts, right? And then there's footnotes. And, of course, the psychology of that is that people will expect that because you're telling them to check the facts and because there are footnotes, everything that he says must be true. And, of course, it couldn't be farther from the truth, especially when you check those footnotes. So I'll give you an example. He starts by saying I have divisive priorities. So from day one, my priorities have been to lower the taxes in the state to make it more affordable here, to help us rebuild from COVID by creating a better business climate, and by being the voice of all of the district, not just a certain portion of it, which I contend that he is. So, Lee, that's pretty divisive, right? I mean, that's straight from hell, right?
I guess. I mean, where would he get that information from? Why would he say those things?
I don't know why he would say those things, other than the fact that he is a very desperate candidate. So let's there's three more things which he footnotes and says, and it only gets worse here. So he says that I'm going to take away women's rights, and he distorts my view on abortion, and he does so. The footnote is to a Pew Research study from 2013. So basically, he goes to a Pew Research study, he finds something there, and he says, oh, yeah, this is exactly what my opponent thinks. Not because it's, in fact, the truth, but because that's what he would like people to believe. Now, I will set the record straight, because I have no problem saying that I am pro-life, but that doesn't mean that I oppose abortion in every scenario, but it does mean that I value the, quote, unborn life as much as I value the, quote, born life. To me, life is life, and I value them both. And in fact, this whole narrative that folks like to push forward that, oh, I would never tell a woman what to do. Lee, are you married? You're a married man.
I am.
How often do you tell your wife what to do?
Never.
Exactly. See, and that's why you're a nicely married man. Because so I love when people love to do that. But let me be serious about this for a minute, because what my opponent doesn't realize, and what people who are like that don't realize, is I was a minister for over a decade,
right?
And I've ministered in the context of the broken black family. I've ministered in Baltimore. I've ministered to an urban setting where the black family was decimated. And when you minister in that setting, you do encounter the unwed teenage mother who's from an abusive home and is now pregnant and is trying to decide what to do. And I want to be very clear that in that context, I believe three things are very important when I ministered. Number one was to give them a view of what the Bible teaches on this, which is very simple, that God knows and intimately loves the unwed child. It's very clear from Psalms 139 that that's the case. But I also, number two, want to make sure that they have all the options, that they understand everything that they can do in this situation, which is probably my number one complaint with organizations like Planned Parenthood, which is that they give you all the knowledge of one option. And as a minister, you want to make sure people know all the options that they have. And then third, and this was most important, I always wanted them to know that no matter what they chose, they were loved, right? There's no need to railroad somebody into something. All you have to do is give them the information and let them go from there. So, I really think that it's a disservice to act all sort of haughty, like, oh, I would never presume to tell someone something. Well, guess what? I did minister to people. I did have to have an answer for people, and I did that in a caring, loving way. So Number three, he says that I'm a radical anti-gay activist. I bet you didn't know that about me, Lee.
I did not.
It's mostly stuff I do on the weekends where I like to do that. But he states that I'm active in an organization that promotes something known as conversion therapy. The problem is I actually haven't been active in that organization for many years. The organization that he's alluding to is the Southern Baptist Convention. And while I did serve as a pastor, as a youth pastor in a Southern Baptist Convention church for a year, and I did receive funds through them when I started my church here in Connecticut, I haven't been associated with them since 2012, 2013, something like that. And believe me, we were not doing weekend conversion therapy retreats, okay? So the footnote that he uses to back this up actually leads you to a website for the LGBTQ community to find out what various churches and denominations teach on this issue. And what they say, their own website says, is that the Southern Baptist Convention teaches that homosexual activity is sin, but they teach their members to love people regardless of their sin. Lee, I'm radical like that, baby. That's how I roll. I'm running around loving people. I don't know if you can take it or not. I don't know if you should vote for somebody whose faith leads them to love people, but that's me.
All right, so just so we're all clear, so he has contended that you are anti-gay, and you're saying right here today that you are not.
Correct.
He says that you're over the top pro-abortion, and you're saying that in the past you have counseled folks in all different directions.
Yeah, I give people information. I let them make their own decision.
They make their own decision. So you're not out there beating the drum for you're not you are pro-life, but you're not force. And the first one was again of the three strikes.
I'm just very divisive.
Divisive.
I'm just, lowering taxes makes me very divisive.
All right, those are the three strikes that I had against you this time. So all right, so what Pew Research Center is he grabbing the information from? I'm curious about that.
It's just a general, from what I could see when I went to the site, it's just a general thing that they do every few years where they just take various topics and they let you know what different sects of Christianity, what their view on different things is.
Oh, okay. So there wasn't a Pew Research Center about you. It was just a general...
Let me see. Hold on. I'm going to check it. Pew Research on what Brendan Saunders will believe in 2020.
No.
No, I don't see myself
Your name's
in that
not mentioned. All right. I was just curious. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if a Pew Research Center put a lot of money into figuring out what Brendan Saunders was doing on a regular basis.
Yeah, speaking of putting a lot of money into what Brendan Saunders thinks, my opponent has spent almost $50,000 in opinion polls, and this is what it has gotten him.
Wow.
He's done multiple rounds of opinion polls, and the best that he can come up with is let's attack his faith. There was a presidential candidate back in the day who was attacked for his faith. Do you remember who one of the first presidential candidates to be attacked for their faith was? It's a good trivia.
Would it be Kennedy?
Yes, it would be Kennedy.
How about that?
Right?
Pretty good. I get an A+ for my quiz this morning.
Every week when I come on and I ask you these questions, Lee, you are top notch. Yeah, right. So he was attacked for being Catholic back in the day, and here we are today with some of the same views that align not only with evangelicals but with Catholics, and again, it's under attack by a very desperate candidate. So let me give one more. He finishes by saying that I want to give tax breaks to the wealthy corporations and make the middle class pay more, and I want to take away health care from millions of people. And the footnote, Lee, is to my own website. Once again, he's caught me. He's caught me, Lee. Wait a minute. I'm middle class. I want to tax myself, Lee.
Oh, man.
Oh, he's uncovered it. All my skeletons are flying out of the closet.
Horrible. You're a horrible person. So listen, give me another roundup on how the campaign is actually going. Is it? I know last time we talked, you were banging on a lot of doors. You still out there doing that?
Yeah, man, we're still banging on doors. We're on track to bang out over 10,000 doors. We are We've called over 15,000 folks. We are just spreading the word, getting the word out there, and continuing to encounter people who are registered either independent or some who are even registered Democrat who are just tired of the game that Hartford plays, and they understand that I'm a reasonable guy, and they trust that I will back them up and be for them more than a gentleman who likes to portray himself as being bipartisan and middle of the road and yet voted for every Democrat bill that came through the legislature. So, so we're doing well, and I'm enjoying it, man.
You know, it's interesting too. You know, a couple of things that seems like I've not gotten the chance to read the accusations by your opponent towards you. Mm-hmm. But some of those things are more national issues. You know, when you sit down and you talk more, they're not more, they are national issues. But when you sit down and chat about some of that stuff, I mean, are you comfortable talking about national issues on a stage like, if you were up on a stage head to head with him, an abortion issue, some, legal issue, things like that? Because a lot of times folks at running for state senator or state rep, they don't want to touch that stuff.
Well, I guess I have labored under the assumption that he may try to push those issues, and clearly that's what he's doing, and clearly that's what his party's doing, and clearly that's what his $50,000 worth of opinion polls have shown him, is that locally he's got nothing to say. He's got nothing to say. He can't even get legs on his own accomplishments, because his own accomplishments, like the windmill bill, like his green economy bill, he's built these on the backs of folks. So what else do you have to turn to when you can't actually look the people in your district in the face, right? I'm a middle-class guy. I have to live with the results of what I vote on in Hartford. I have to look at my neighbors who work 9 to 5 and do extra shifts on the weekend. He doesn't have to do that. And so when he's called to the carpet on it, of course he's going to try to switch to a national narrative. I would try to throw something national up there as well. But the fact of the matter is, I'm going to Hartford, Connecticut, and I'm going to Hartford, Connecticut to represent the 33rd District. I'm not going to Hartford, Connecticut, as he and many of his cronies do, to advance a national Democratic socialist agenda, which is what they do.
See, I think it's all fair game to have a conversation about that stuff. Like if we were to sit down and have a conversation, because people want to know, what makes Brendan Saunders tick. But they also need to know that you're really not going to have anything to do with whether or not Roe versus Wade gets struck down anytime in the next couple of years. What? Well, you know what I mean?
No.
What I'm saying is that I think there's that idea that there's certainly a barrier between you and the national issues. Even as a state senator, you've got a lot of juice in the state, but you're not making decisions. But still, it's okay to have a conversation about that stuff. But people need to know that you're not, at least not for the next couple of years, you're not making any decisions on that kind of a policy. People don't understand that.
Sometimes they don't understand. Sometimes they choose not to understand that. Yeah. The narrative that I'm on a crusade to Hartford to dismantle Connecticut's marriage equality laws and to roll back Roe v. Wade is a phony narrative created by a desperate candidate. That's the bottom line. And when I talk to folks, and I'm having a conversation with them at their front door, and they express concerns about national issues, I certainly listen and I certainly discuss things with them, but I always bring them back to the fact, because I have had Democrats who have said to me, it's really hard for me to consider voting for a Republican when I see what's going on nationally, and I don't like what's happening nationally with the Republicans. And I say to them, that's fair. You're entitled to that opinion, and that's fine. But understand, what I'm addressing in Hartford is this, and I remind them of the local issues that I'm going to be addressing in Hartford that has nothing to do with the national issues.
All right. Like I said, I think it's legit to have these conversations. Like if me and you were to sit down and talk about some of that stuff, I think it'd be all right, and people would probably want to know where you stand on it. And that would be a judge of, you're a character judge of you. But to have in other words, to have a back and forth about abortion, it's probably not going to hold a lot of weight. I mean, Connecticut's always going to have abortion. It's just the way it's set up. So anyway. All right. So anything else? Did we miss anything?
Sure. My opponent's at bat. I left you last time with 3 strikes. My opponent, because you're a baseball guy, that my opponent had stepped to the bat and he struck out. He had 3 strikes. He voted for the 2019 budget. His reckless, aggressive pursuit of the renewable energy at our ratepayer cost, and that he did not support the good men and women of law enforcement. So he's 0-1, and I submit as I leave today that he's up at bat again. He's got 3 more strikes against him. And those 3 new strikes are, first of all, and I've mentioned this a bunch of times, my opponent secured $2.7 million of taxpayer funds through the Paycheck Protection Program, which he used to give his employee raises, not because he was facing layoffs, not because he was facing shutdowns, but simply to get taxpayer money to give his employees a raise. That's strike 1. Strike 2, he voted for tolls. You say, wait a minute, though. Tolls never came to the floor for a vote. That's true. But I do have my opponent's record in committee where, and I will be posting this on Facebook over the next day or two, where in committee he was all for tolls, voting for tolls. And then 3, my opponent, as we have discussed today, has launched misleading anti-Christian attacks against me and the people of faith in the 33rd District. So he is now 0 for 2.
2 strikeouts.
Yeah.
0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. Hey, listen, Brennan, I will talk to you down the road. Thank you. Continued good luck with your sort of out there campaigning, knocking on doors, and I will talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you, Lee.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Brendan Saunders, always a pleasure chatting with him. All right, we'll come right back, everybody. Don't go anywhere. I feel off today. I don't know why. My mind's not working right, so we'll try to straighten that out next. Stick around.